Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Fly Time Tea. I hope you're enjoying what you find here and that you will like and subscribe to my channel. As I'm winding down my trip to Brazil, I have a few thoughts that I want to share. So I'm back in Sao Paulo, which has really been a transit city for me. I have one final destination before I head home. I understand that I'll be coming back to a snowstorm, so I hope at least the highways are clear by the time I arrive. But I can't tell you I'm happy that I'm glad to be missing that. A few things I want to share. First of all, this moment is feeling a bit bittersweet for me because I really did love Bahia. It has been one of the highlights of my trip. There are few places in the world where I have felt so welcomed and felt at home. And it saddens me that I feel this way when I leave the United States, but I don't feel this way in the country where I was born and where my ancestors lived and died. But Bahia was very welcoming to me, and I will definitely be back before too much longer. So I want to thank all the wonderful people that I met in Bahia for making that such a great experience for me. A few other things I want to share with you. So Brazil has taken body positivity to the next level, and I must say that I love it. So it felt good to be walking around half naked, although not entirely, but letting the sun kiss all the nooks and crannies. So one thing I can say for sure, I'm going to worry a lot less about what I look like, and I'm going to be embracing all of my stretch marks, dimples, and cellulite as the women here do. So it was great to see women really just embracing who they are and going with the flow. So that was wonderful. I also want to share a few other observations. One is the presence of the military police in all of the tourist areas. That was one of the things that I think contributed to the level of safety that I felt here. And before coming, people always talk about the need to be careful and watch what you're doing and so forth and so on. But as I said in earlier videos, I have not at any time during this entire trip felt unsafe. And the presence of the military police added to my comfort. They tended to try to blend in with the background. They were not an intrusive presence at all, but I truly felt that they were there to make sure that tourists and others enjoyed themselves and had a good time. So that contributed, I think, to my sense of safety and security. I also observed something here that I don't often find in my travels to Africa, and that is that Brazilians also get a chance to enjoy their country. Everywhere I went, it was not just full of tourists, but there were local people who were out enjoying the holidays with their families. I saw lots of dads, which I also love. You could see families together in the shopping malls and in all of the sites that I visited. It's often when I visit other countries, especially in Africa, that you only find foreigners and tourists in most of the tourist sites. And I find that really unfortunate that the local people don't get to enjoy the benefits, the beauty of the countries in which they live. They either seek to go outside of their countries if they're able to do that, or you have these massive hotel chains that build properties on the beach fronts and then restrict access and make them private beaches in countries where the people aren't even allowed to visit their own beaches. So I found that a really welcome change here in Brazil. I also found that the infrastructure is very good here. So there's electricity everywhere. There were never any power outages. Internet worked well. There's Uber everywhere. Mostly everyone takes credit cards. In fact, one of my guides commented that even the beggars have a credit card machine. And I don't know if that was a joke, but it didn't seem far from the truth because everybody has a credit card machine. So it was much easier to use credit cards than even cash. In fact, I struggled sometimes to be able to exchange cash. So being able to move around with a credit card made everything so much easier. And then lastly, I want to just say it's a funny thing to me, but whenever I leave the U.S., I start having strange cravings for things that I don't even eat when I'm at home. So I'm looking forward to having a piece of Kentucky Fried Chicken. I don't know why. I guess I just need something fried and greasy because I've been eating fairly healthy since I've been here. So that's just a little funny little thing about me. And then a final note I want to talk about, and that is poverty. So I'm in these beautiful places. The poverty and the lack does not escape me, although I always want to focus on what is positive in every country. I recall in 1985 when Wendy and I came, it was the first time that I had ever seen women and children sleeping on the streets. Unfortunately, the United States was not far behind because it was around that time that President Ronald Reagan started closing all of the mental health hospitals around the country and when our homeless population just began to explode. So I am very much aware that there are poor people here as there are all over the world. And so I don't want to focus on that, but I'm very much aware of the privilege that I have and the opportunity to be able to travel and see the world. One of the things that I was struck by is that there are a number of tours to the favelas, which are basically the ghettos where poor people live. And I found this a bit troubling. Initially, I had booked a tour because of the nature of the work that I do. I've seen poverty in many different forms, and I've seen poor people who are unlike poor people in the United States. I mean, abject poverty. But there's a term that's used now called poverty porn, where people seem to, I don't know if they get off on it. Somehow, I don't know, people want to see how bad circumstances are for other people. And I find that really troubling. I ask myself, do we have tours that go into Kensington in Philadelphia, where I was born and raised, where you literally see people doing drugs, laying on the sidewalks, white people, in fact? Do we run tours to communities like this? After all, even though these are quote unquote ghettos, these are communities. These are where people live. This is their home. And so I'm not sure why that's something that people want to see as a tourist attraction, unless you're going to those communities to try to leave them better than you found them. And I was certain that I would be able to do that I could still respect people, I could still ensure their dignity had I chosen to visit. But what concerned me is that I might be triggered by an insensitive or an ignorant comment by someone else who might be on the tour. And I liken it to the experience sometimes we have when we go to Ghana and visit the slave castles at Cape Coast. In fact, we have gotten to a point where we have to ask that the guides not take people who are not Black along with us, because inevitably someone will ask the question, didn't Blacks and didn't Africans enslave themselves? As if that equates to 400 years of enslavement, followed by colonization, followed by Jim Crow, followed by all the other things that we are living and dealing with right now, as if that is somehow equal. So we have asked that they not take other people with us because of the lack of sensitivity. And so I felt that I might even be triggered by visiting one of the favelas. But again, at the end of the day, these are people's communities. This is where they live. I know these communities because I've worked in them. And the nature of my work is to be helpful, not to somehow benefit from the pain and suffering of others. So that's the reason I didn't visit the favelas. So that's the last kind of negative note that I want to leave you all with. But again, as I wrap up my time in Brazil, this has been an amazing experience. It's one, although I love traveling with my line sisters, with my friends, with other people, there are times when traveling alone is really good for the soul. I met people that I probably would not have met had I been with someone else. I had time to think and reflect on my own as we come into a new year about my goals and aspirations as I enter this new season of my life as a recent retiree. I'm so happy and I look so much forward to what the next year and the next phase of my life is going to bring. I hope you'll come back and share it with me. I have a number of trips already laid out taking me into 2026. They promise to be fun, exciting adventures, and I plan to bring you all along. So I hope you have enjoyed all of my contributions from the Fly Time Tea. I really do this as a labor of love. I'm not looking to make money. I'm not interested in likes. I just want to share my experience. I tried really hard not to focus on creating content because that's not why I'm here. I'm here to experience the people, the place, the cultures, and if that is of interest to someone else, then that makes it all the better. It also prevents me from having to repeat myself 1,000 times as all my friends ask me, how was the trip? What did you do? Let me see pictures. It's all here for you all to take in, and I hope you have enjoyed it. So I will be making one more entry as I make my last stop before coming back to the U.S. But again, I hope you have enjoyed what you've seen here. I want to remind you to look not only at the videos, but there's a link for shorts, which are videos that are under 2 minutes. There's some interesting content there. And then at the pictures, which is under the community tab, because that's where I give deeper explanations into what I'm seeing. I give all the historical background because it often requires me to come back and do a little research, recall what I've heard and learned from our guides, because there's just so much to take in. So for now, I wish you all a good evening from the Fly Time Tea. Take care.